What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we've got some exciting Curse of Osiris stuff to talk about, and this comes in the form of a new interview between Every Eye, which is an Italian gaming website, and Dave Matthews, the game director for the Curse of Osiris expansion. There are some pretty awesome details in here, including some stuff about the activities and the social space on Mercury. They briefly touch on the raid, they talk about Xur, some of the currency stuff, changes to how we'll earn gear, as well as some information about new PvP maps coming in this expansion, and some story background about Osiris, which is pretty cool, so let's get into it. Every Eye starts by asking, can you give us some details about the new content and activities on the planet Mercury? Dave Matthews says, on Mercury, players will find all the activities also present on the other planets of Destiny 2, public events, lost sectors, adventures, primary missions, and of course a new social hub, the Lighthouse, an area that only a few players of the first Destiny have seen, and will host Brother Vance as a reference NPC and a vendor. This disciple of Osiris will not only lead the players in their adventures on the main Mercury area, but also through a large portal to an area called the Infinite Forest, a Vex simulation that lies outside of space and time. The missions offered by A Curse of Osiris will prompt players to explore Mercury and reach the deepest depths of the Infinite Forest to find out what happened to Osiris after his exile from the city. So that's pretty cool. Mercury is going to be a fully fleshed out location. We'll have all of the other activities that we're used to seeing on planets, but of course we'll also have the Lighthouse social space, and it'll be interesting to see whether this hub actually is on the patrollable space or whether it's kind of separate, a little bit like the farm. It also sounds like Mercury will have two key areas, so Mercury itself and then the Infinite Forest. It definitely sounds like it's going to be a pretty sizable new location. Up next they talk about some of the activities, some potential changes to the endgame, as well as some words about the new raid activity. So Every Eye asks, will we see the return of Osiris Notorious Trials? And Dave Matthews says, as you know, in Destiny 2, Trials of Osiris has been replaced by Trials of the Nine. We now have the opportunity to do something completely different with Osiris, but to find out more you'll have to check out the game starting December 5th. So it's interesting that they talk about doing different things in terms of the activity. Perhaps we'll see a new type of ritual activity, you know, that's kind of similar to any of the weekly events we currently have. This could also potentially pertain to the raid, and we'll talk about that in a second. But Every Eye says, in addition to new maps, what changes will come to Destiny 2 PvP? Will we have new modes and playlists? And Dave Matthews says the expansion will contain 3 new maps, 2 available for everyone and 1 available for PS4 users. As for the modes, the expansion will not add new ones, but internally we are working and developing new ones, which we will add to the game as soon as they're ready. So we won't be seeing any brand new PvP modes inside of this expansion. It's not something that we saw in the first expansions for Destiny 1 either. I'm pretty sure it was fairly similar with Dark Below as well. They had like 2 maps and potentially a PlayStation exclusive one as well, so no major changes there. Of course, the Wormhaven map on the new Pacific Arcology will be the PS4 exclusive for Curse of Osiris. He doesn't give us any additional details about modes or playlist changes and things like that, but that is of course more of the kind of live team stuff, and it's something we're likely to learn about inside of the upcoming live streams. But Every Eye says, you've talked about the new raid activity, and it's not exactly like talking about a new raid. Are you working on a new activity that will engage players in the existing raids? Dave Matthews says the exact definition of new raid activity has aroused much curiosity since the announcement of the expansion, but during November we'll have 3 stream events to talk in more detail about Curse of Osiris, and one of them will focus on the activity in question, so I can only advise that you follow the streams. So of course we can anticipate that we'll get these kind of details inside of the streams. On Tuesday, November 21st, they will be talking specifically about activities coming in this expansion, and it sounds like that's the stream where we'll get information about this raid content as well. But up next they ask, will the new expansion enrich the endgame of the title? And he replies, we're always looking for ways to improve players' experience. If you come back to thinking about the first Destiny, how it was at launch, it's clear how many things have changed along the way as we've intervened, modified, improved and refined the gaming experience. Destiny 2 has not been released for so long, so we're still learning and we're collecting data and we're currently making changes. We love our community, we appreciate the fact that it has no problem telling us what's wrong with the game, we keep listening to all of the feedback offered to us. For us, this is a process of continuous learning. We also continue to play Destiny 2 and critically evaluate each aspect to accumulate as much data as possible to decide how to evolve and improve the experience over time. In essence, it's something that we're working on. But Every Eye asks specifically about legendary shards, so they say even the legendary fragments seem a highly underused currency, unsatisfactory from several points of view. Do you plan to change anything on that front? And Matthews replies, I personally take care of the campaign and experience that will be offered at the expansion launch. Within Bungie we have another team called the Live Experience team, which deals instead in evaluating the experience after each release, from the balance of the game to the use of the currencies. The team are thoroughly analysing every aspect of the experience. And they go on to mention Xur, are you going to review the quality of his weekly offerings? And he replies, with the Osiris expansion we will raise the maximum base level to 25 and the power level to 330, and Xur's maximum level of equipment will increase as well. Additionally, the way players will be able to access top level equipment in the game, especially with regard to new Osiris themed gear, will change a bit. We will observe how these changes will affect the overall picture of the experience and then decide how to move with Xur as well. So it sounds like there will be some systematic changes to the way that we're earning gear, at least inside of this expansion. Of course this pertains to the activities and the weekly rituals and, you know, the kind of gear that we'll be getting from them, but it sounds like there will be some kind of new systems right there as far as how earning gear goes, and that's definitely promising to hear about. You know, any kind of adjustments to that and the endgame element is definitely really important right now. Of course we'll have to wait for the streams to get more details. Dave Matthews goes on to say the expansion is a great opportunity to present the character of Osiris to the world, but another facet is represented by Sagira, Osiris' ghost. This is the first time that the player is offered the opportunity to speak with the ghosts of another guardian, a comparison that allows you to listen to a different perspective to better understand how ghosts see the world and how they interact with their guardians. Sagira's personality is very different from that of the ghost of the player. She's a bit insolent, has a strong character and loves to express her opinions, and in the expansion you will see all of these aspects emerge. That said, Curse of Osiris will introduce a good amount of new weapons and armor in the Osiris style for all three classes. So while some of this stuff, you know, is pretty loose, it definitely gives us a hint towards what we can expect to learn more about coming up throughout November. You know, we will have new PvP maps, the raid activity is definitely a thing, whatever it is. There is a conversation about how, you know, they're going to enrich the endgame, and it sounds like some of the ways that we're earning gear are going to change. You know, if you think about when House of Wolves came out, for example, we had the kind of new token and currency system for the Prison of Elders, and considering they also reference having opportunities to create new ritual activities, they use Trials of Osiris as a reference point. This could also pertain to the new raid content or activity as well, and how we're going to be earning gear in this expansion. And along with some of the other changes they mentioned, it definitely sounds promising. Of course, Destiny 2 right now doesn't necessarily have a content problem as much as it has kind of issues as far as the players are concerned in the systems for how loot is rewarded and how we progress with our characters and all of that kind of stuff. But again, we've got live streams coming up in November and this will start to become a little bit clearer. They finished by giving a little bit of story background right here. So Dave Matthews says Osiris is an exile of the Guardians and he's been the mentor of Akora Ray. During his Vex investigation, Osiris went looking for information in the depths of the Infinite Forest, and that's why he disappeared. No one knows what has happened to him, what he has done in recent years, or what capacity he has acquired. You will have to understand what happened to Osiris during the last few years and gather all the information useful to understand and address the Vex threat on Mercury. And that's really cool because you've got some adventures currently in the game that kind of hint towards Osiris being inside of the Vex network or somehow being actually integrated with it, and we see, you know, some evidence of this when we see him moving through the Vault of Glass in the cinematics. It's going to be really cool to understand more about that. But Every Eye asks, can we expect to see new types of Vex on Mercury and maybe find something new that we don't know about this particular breed of war machines? And he replies, absolutely yes, this kind of content offers us a precious opportunity to deepen Destiny's fame in a variety of ways. This expansion is about the Vex, and we want to let you know how they operate, how they think, and how they exist outside of time, how their machines work, and how Vex use them to achieve their goals. During this expansion, you will know different aspects of this mysterious race in different timelines. So as far as story and learning more about the Vex, you know, this is one of the biggest opportunities that we've had inside of Destiny, and it's really cool that we're going to learn more about how they differ and how they vary throughout different timelines. You know, when you think about the Vault of Glass, you've got kind of the past and future Vex, and they're kind of different and unique in their own ways, and it'll be cool to understand what that exactly means and how that works. So overall, it's a pretty cool interview, some of the more insightful things that we've learned about this expansion so far. A while back before D2 dropped, I spoke about how Dave Matthews had been listed on LinkedIn as an expansion developer for, well over a year already. So it sounds like Bungie have been working on this content for some time, and of course the positive there is that, the more of the content is actually completed, the more time they have to adjust systems and things like that in the game, and kind of respond to the player feedback they've had so far, because like I said, Destiny doesn't necessarily have a content issue, it's really a case of how the content is utilized. I think that's what is bothering more players at the moment. In terms of this new DLC, however, I am pretty excited and I think it looks really promising. But I'll be curious to hear your thoughts on any of this stuff in the comments section. If you have enjoyed the video, I would thoroughly appreciate a like, it really helps me out on the channel. If you're new around here, be sure to hit subscribe if you want to keep up to date with the world of Destiny 2. I cover pretty much everything here on the channel. For now though, I appreciate you watching as always, and I hope you guys have an awesome day.